Hey, hey, hey. Welcome, everybody, to Bridging the Seen and Unseen. I am Shane McLain. I am your host. How are you, Miss Gwen?
I'm pretty good. We're having a little internet issue, so if I pop
No,
out, that's it.
it's always the gremlins. It's always they try to come in and just kind of orchestrate their own thing going on.
They do.
They
We
certainly
got
do.
two
Well,
wonderful ladies.
I know, and I'm excited about it. I'm excited about these. I've tried to book these ladies for a little while now, and I do get a chance to. They are the authors of Ghostbuzz magazine, and they are part of PPI, their own paranormal team, and I'm excited about having them. Can we please bring on Janet Ramsey and Cassie Smith?
Hi.
Hey guys.
Hi.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good.
I'm glad to have you guys on. I know it's been a little while, and Janet, you and I have talked several times trying to get this orchestrated, and I'm glad we can finally do this. I'm really excited about having you here. I'm really excited about you being able to tell everybody about yourself. So why don't we start with that? Why don't we just tell everybody who you are and what you're about?
Go ahead, Cass.
Who you are? Oh, I can tell you all about Janet. No.
Either you tell about her, or, either one's good.
Okay. Well, Janet is the brainiac of our team and everything that happens, the magazine. I will take 50% credit for Ghostbuzz Live, but she does but she orchestrated everything. She's the event organizer and the, guest speakers. She's the organizer. She's the head of the everything. Yeah. And it was her bright idea to, I always laughed because we're seniors almost. And so we're aged ladies. And instead of putting our toes in the sand, we're in abandoned cold houses with no heat or toilets and blah, blah, blah. And that's how we're choosing to spend our retirement time, even though I'm not retired, but my vacations are spent in haunted houses. But I would say we grew up together. Everybody on our team has had paranormal events. And just being friends and hanging out. I mean, me and Janet's been friends 50 years now, darn near. So
amazing.
You know each other, and we've had these experiences, and we decided, well, her and her sister decided to put the team together. So I don't know why you're telling me to talk, but Carol and Janet are sisters and always wanted to ghost hunt together, not necessarily a team. And then they were talking about doing it. So I'm like, I want to do it, and then her daughters, well, I want to do it. And so then we just decided to do it and became a team. And we were asked to volunteer at the local asylum, Eloise. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Oh, yeah.
And so we were doing that for a couple years and, doing independent investigations. And we just grew. We just stuck with it. We were interested. We wanted to know. We've all had things happen. And my thing is, I'm so curious. As I mentioned before we came on, I have a religious background. And we're taught in religion, there's destinations. But what did I just see? What's this? What's that?
Right.
And I'm curious to know. Now, religions might say, oh, it's a demon or something, but I don't know. It smelled like mom and it came at a sentimental time. To me, you can't tell me that wasn't my mom,
Right.
That just came through. So it's kind of just, what is it? We want to know. And then I did live in a haunted house, and it was aggravating and scary. And I managed to get rid of it myself. But what about those people that are being attacked by spirits or who knows what? And who do they call? Who do they go to? and it's awkward, you know, right? You find a pastor or a paranormal team, but someone you have to, and you're an open pastor maybe, but some pastors just poo-poo it away.
Oh, I know.
So meanwhile, this person's having this situation that's troubling and affects their life. Where do they go? And I think that's where we just wanted to offer a service and explore more for us. We're not a team that puts a lot of videos out, and we have a few on YouTube, but we're not for recognition. We're more for more scientific with it and for help.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
and that's amazing. And you said that about the whole church thing. I was a full-time pastor. I was a full-time pastor. I got out of, I was in Bible college the same time I was a full-time pastor. That was one of the most difficult times of my life, but I cherish it the most because I was able to do hundreds of sermons and reach a lot of people. But we would have families come in with real issues, things that are going on. And you're right. The church does have a tendency to look and say, oh, that's demonic, or you got a demonic presence around. And that's just simply not true.
No.
And there's nothing biblical that puts that around. And my podcast was designed to bridge the gap between paranormal and clergy. I am not a paranormal clergy. I am a clergy that works in the paranormal. So I try to educate teams on grounding, proper protection, doing the right things to guard and protect yourselves. And my wife and I, we do residential cases. We try to really help families that have been affected in this area, not only with education, but we do a proper theological clearing and cleansing of their house and families. And I think it's very, very important. And I think we need people like me and others that I know that are willing to step in that gap and to really be the people to stand in there and to be able to take these things on, because in the paranormal, let's just face it, not all hauntings are demonic, and when people are having issues, a lot of them can be explained. And the problem with the church is they don't want to hear it. They'll preach Ephesians 6 about the armor of God, and they talk about it. They talk about putting on the full armor of God. But what does that truly mean to you? And what is the church doing behind it? And that's the problem that I've been having. And that's the reason why, we are Knight Templars. We have the Knight Templars Unity Church, and we also have the Order of the Archangels, and we are strictly a spiritual warfare and exorcism ministry. We are here to help not only the paranormal field, but people that have been affected by paranormal.
Yes. I think that's a great thing to have, because our team, we can go into a residential. Luckily, we haven't encountered any demonic in residential.
Yeah.
We've had to refuse one because we have a lengthy intake form before we go in your house.
So do I.
And we've eliminated like people with schizophrenia. Like, we can't consciously go in your house if you're having a schizophrenic episode and exacerbate it by, maybe finding or whatever. And then a lot of it is poor EMF in the house. These are not spirits. This is poor sleep. Get all your electronics off your bedstand when you're sleeping, your nightstand.
Right.
One time we did have a spirit encounter, but it was, I hope, we haven't followed up in a long time, but I hope that the house we did, there was a gentleman who, when he was younger, was in a car accident and his friend died. And it was, from our findings, we figured out his friend was there. And he was trying to tell him, move on, quit like feeling guilty about this. I'm okay now, and so it was a personal thing, but nothing demonic at all.
No, and that's the case. I did. I'll tell you a story that I did. This lady reached out to me, and she had 2 teams come there, and her daughter were about to leave and move out of their house because these 2 teams came in and they says that you definitely have a demonic presence in this house. And when they were asked, what makes this demonic, and they were like, oh, cabinets are opening, coffee cup. I'm sorry, but a demon is not just going to throw a coffee cup across. There's characteristics that form that there's manifestation, there's infestation, there's oppression, there's possession, and there's obsession. And they have to go through those different, and it's a category to go through it all. And so I went and I spoke to this lady, and when we got there, she said, yeah, she goes, I'll just do the dishes and I'll go into another room and I'll come back and my cabinets will be open. And for this paranormal team to come in there and tell them that was a demonic presence was completely false. I mean, we were having activity come in, but it was more like the activity was trying to get us to pay attention that it was there, and we couldn't figure it out. And then we found out that 6 months before, her husband got on his motorcycle at like 6 o'clock in the morning and was going to the store to go get him and his family some stuff. And he was in a tragic accident and he got killed. Well, while he was living, his wife would go in there and do dishes, and then he would go play a joke on her, and he would go and he would open the cabinets back up and just to play a trick on her, and she had forgotten all about that. And then we got in communication and found out that it was him, and it was him just letting her know that he was there watching over his family.
Right.
So
Janet,
you see,
just to let you know, I see your mouth moving, but I don't hear when you're talking. I don't know if you can put your mic closer or.
No, not really. Can you hear me?
Janet. Yeah, we can hear you.
Just talk loud when you talk.
So when you guys do them, do you guys do residentials or do you go to locations and stuff like that when you do your investigations?
We don't do a whole lot of residentials. Usually, we go to, the abandoned buildings and cemeteries and wherever we want to go, museums, wherever.
Well, you guys got to come down to around my area here because I'm in Beaufort, South Carolina. I am an hour and a half from where the Civil War started, and I'm also 45 minutes from Savannah, Georgia.
Ooh.
So you guys can
going that way.
Yeah, you guys can definitely come down because we got a cemetery there in Savannah where there have been many apparitions seen, and I'm talking like people who don't have anything to do with the paranormal, and the cemetery will be closed off or whatever, and they'll see people moving and go behind graves, and then they'll go around to the other side and those people won't be there. So, I mean, Savannah is filled with paranormal history, and I think you guys should come and check it out.
We were talking about it. It's one of the destinations on our list.
Yeah, we haven't quite started planning next year yet, but we want to do one.
But when you guys do, look me up, and I'll set you guys up. I'll see about getting you guys into some of these areas around here because we have plenty of areas. This
All
is
right,
the low
make a
country
note
here.
of it, Janet. I know you got pen and paper. Because we need to talk to him and plan it and maybe book some hotel. He'll know where the good hotels are and blah, blah, blah.
Absolutely. I mean, we were able to go to Savannah and actually investigate a hotel that was there that has a bar that that had plenty of activity there, and it's a very nice hotel right there on the waterway. You guys, we could probably get you into there, and you guys will have a great time in Savannah. You just got to deal with the traffic and the people.
Right. I would like to do a plantation.
Oh yeah, we have those. We have those too. Now on the outskirts, of you got Georgetown, you have Charleston, you have Somerville, you have places like that, and these are old. They have old, houses from the Civil War and everything. I don't know if you guys know, but in old Civil War houses, the door frames are really really high, and when you go in, you'll see the door frame will be a lot thicker than what a normal door will be. That's because if you go, you can open the door frame there, and that's where they would take and put the sleeves in the walls of the house.
Oh, cool.
So when the North would come in, they wouldn't be able to see who was there because they would actually be on the inside of the house.
Gotcha.
So it's really interesting.
I've seen it though. I know what you're talking about. How wide they were.
Oh yeah. They're really big doors. Really, like you couldn't get somebody to make those doors anymore. They just don't make them anymore. I mean, real big, heavy doors because the frames are a good, 2.5 feet wide. And right there at the door frame at the bottom, they got a thing that they kick out or whatever, and then they open it up, and then it opens up right in the middle, and they can turn sideways, and they can take a whole family, and you can take the whole family and put them into the walls of the house. And that's where they would hide when Sherman and all them would come in. And, they would threaten to burn the house down if they found anything, and they wouldn't find anything because they would obviously be inside the walls of the house.
Yeah, well, now those walls would have to be 3.5 foot thick for today's American body style.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Before you guys came a team right there, did you guys ever have any childhood experiences? Did you guys ever have anything that really, really got you into the paranormal at a young age?
That would be something for Jane. I started experiencing it as an adult.
So you never had anything happen as a child?
Not that one thing that's stupid, but I don't know. It was probably my imagination in the dark, but
right. How about you, Miss Janet?
Concrete.
That's a lot of mine too. I'm not sure. I think I've always had some type of knowing something was going on, but I never really made the connection ghost spirits, even though I was always interested in ghosts and spirits. And it probably didn't really hit me till I was about 14. And we lived in this one house where you all night long, you just hear walking up and down the hallway. It never stopped. And every now and then you get knocks on the front door and nobody would be there. It always happened though when you're in the back of the house. Of course, you got to go running to the front door. Nobody's there though.
Right.
So that was probably my first real experience. It was just, nothing totally crazy or anything. It wasn't until later that I lived in another house in Detroit that things were crazy. We lived there for about 20 years, and I've seen everything in that house. Things moving, apparitions, you name it, it's been done. Things levitating, including my cousin.
Yeah, your cousin levitated too?
Yes. He got thrown for a chair and landed onto a glass table, which shattered. And he jumped up insisting something pushed me.
But you also saw him come up before, yeah.
Laughing like whatever, you just fell, And I'm like, no, John, I was looking right at him. His feet came off the floor about 2 feet and he flew over the chair. He would have landed on that chair if he just tumbled or whatever.
Mm,
Went
mm.
flying over it. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah,
That's
I definitely get it there because I had my first encounter when I was 10 years old. I grew up in a very, Christian, grandparents, that didn't really talk about the paranormal or ghosts or anything, but my grandfather had passed away, but he made a mirror in the foyer room, and we were standing there getting ready for church when I was 10 years old, and I was adjusting my tie to go in, and I looked up in the mirror, and my grandfather was standing behind me with his hand on my shoulder. And I turned to look, and he wasn't there. And I turned back, and he was gone. And I know what I saw. I know
Absolutely.
what I felt. And there's nothing that anybody could have told me. And then it wasn't until later on, a couple of days later, where I got up at 6 o'clock in the morning. And this is when did y'all's grandparents ever sleep in different rooms?
Yep. Well, mine
Yeah.
were divorced, so.
Well, mine slept in. My grandfather had his room, my grandmother had her room, and I got up at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and I heard a shower going at like 6, and I'm like, "There's no way my grandmother would be up." And I went and I looked in my grandfather's room, and there was steam coming out of the bathroom, and I went into the bathroom and I cut the water off because the hot water was coming on, and I came back into the room. And my grandfather he was chief lieutenant for SLED, which is South Carolina Law Enforcement Division. He worked under Chief Strom. He was a really big man in SLED, but he had a way that he would come. He would get up out of the bed. He'd fold the bed back. He would go open his closet. He would pull a suit out, and he would lay the suit on the bed, and he would put his shoes down in the very, very bottom, and then he would go and get in the shower. Well, the shower was already on. I cut it off, and I came back, and I looked, and his closet was open. A suit was out, laid on the bed. His shoes were on the floor, and actually inside the bed, you can see the foot imprints to where there was feet prints on the inside of the cover where it's folded. And my grandmother came in the room, and she thought I did it. She goes, "Why did you do that? Why?" And I said, "Mama, I didn't do this. I just came in here and it was like this." And you could tell by the look on her face. Said there's no way that he would have known to do all of this. I couldn't have done all of it. I was like 10 years old.
Right.
So why would I stage something like that, when
Right.
I didn't even know what was going on? And you could tell from that point on, she was like, he's here. He's here with us, but that's what started my thing with paranormal. And I always knew, and I just got tired of being in church, and I would see families come in with real problems, real issues. And the only thing the church would say is, "Oh, we'll put you and your family on the prayer list," and not do anything about it.
Right.
And I just wanted to be something different. I wanted to do something different. So that's why I do it.
It's just so hard. You being a pastor, maybe you can shed light. I know the show's supposed to be us as the guest, but my hard thing with it is I don't feel like I'm doing anything wrong paranormally investigating. Have I had bad things happen to me or attachments? Yes. Oh, indeed.
Yeah.
But like, I don't want that demon on me. I don't. I'm terrified of that. Well, I shouldn't even say all this out loud. But anyways, how do you that's the hard thing. Your priest or your pastor is trying to tell you don't mess with this, so you don't have a demonic attachment because you don't know what you're talking to. You're going to try and guess, and but in all reality, it's your assumptions and your guesstimates on what you feel you're dealing with.
Right.
And but do you really 100% know? No. So that's my problem is it's like I've already had some things happen to me. Well, I don't want to go down that path ever.
Right.
Janet's seen me. I've ran out of a house before. I'm not shy to run. I'm the paranoid paranormal.
Yeah, I definitely get it. And let me tell you guys something, and don't worry so much about, because the way YouTube is these days, they're famous for throwing the D word out there.
Oh
Everything's
no, we
demonic.
laugh about that all the time. We're not that silly.
Right. Everything's demonic out there. And listen, out of all the cases that you may work, out of all the cases, spiritual warfare cases, 1% of cases may be demonic. May be demonic. So there's not like a lot of things can be explained behind that. Now, when you do have a demonic case, like I said, there's different levels to it. There's manifestation, it manifests itself. There's infestation, to where it starts infesting in you. And then there's oppression, to where it starts changing who you are, and then possession, it completely takes over. And the time that goes from oppression to possession is relatively fast. And that's exactly what a demon wants to do. A demon's not worried about throwing coffee cups across the room, or shaking, or being a poltergeist and opening doors. A demon wants to get inside and destroy you from the inside out, the same way that he wants to do God's church.
Right.
The Bible says that we are the temple of God, and we are God's ultimate creation. So why wouldn't they want to come in and destroy us? So that's why oppression and possession is so relevant when it comes there. But out of all cases that I've ever done, that most people I know have ever done, 1% may be demonic, and the rest of them can be explained. I have my own paranormal team. My wife and I, we do a lot of investigations. So when we go, we investigate, we go into an area, we investigate, we identify. And then after we identify, then we do a proper theological clearing and cleansing of the house and of the family. And we have had a lot of success behind that. But I think it's important that paranormal teams are familiar, with having clergy, or having clergy with them, to help work these things. Because if you're a paranormal team and you go into a house, even a residential house, and you stir things up in that family and make it worse, what good is that doing that thing?
Right.
And I just refuse to do that. My wife and I will be on our show in the fall. Is called My Haunted Hometown. And it's one of the cases that I did about 30 minutes from here. And it was really, really bad. And again, this guy had 2 paranormal teams come in. They couldn't figure it out. They had a demonologist and a priest come in, and they couldn't figure it out. They couldn't help them. And my wife and I went in, we did the investigation. We were able to identify it. And we were able to clear and cleanse his house. And even to this day, he has so much freedom behind it. And he's so grateful behind it, because he started to lose hope.
Yeah.
And what was funny, what was crazy about it is my client in this story, he was being affected. The dad was, not the wife, not the kids, not anything. The dad was. The dad was the only one being affected. And so we found out. We found out that that a quarter of a mile away from his house, a quarter of a mile is a train track back there. And in 1973, a train was coming through, and in our spirit box, we kept getting Franklin, we kept getting Henry, we kept getting all these things. So when I got home that night, I put it together and I looked up and I said Franklin Henry because we were getting explosion in trains and stuff like that. And we found out in 1973, a man by the name of Franklin Henry was a firefighter, and he was there with 6 other of his colleagues, and a propane leak came onto that train and blew the entire train up. So he died so sporadically. And so Franklin Henry was living vicariously through my client.
Wow.
And I got a picture of Franklin Henry, and if you took the glasses off of Franklin Henry, he looks almost identical to my client.
Wow.
Wow.
So I mean, and that's all going to be on that show. So you guys look out for My Haunted Hometown season 2.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
and you'll definitely see my wife and I on that case and our client that we did. But how about your magazine, guys? How about what made you guys want to get Ghost? But I love that magazine. I love reading the articles that you guys do. What made you do that? I mean, I heard you guys started with the podcast, but how did you guys start with the magazine?
Well, the podcast was becoming a little tough for everybody to get together and do it on a regular basis. You know, we're all grandmothers and have jobs and this and that. And it was just becoming so hectic. And so instead of just calling it total quits, I came up with the bright idea. Because that's what I
There
do.
she is with her bright ideas.
I said, why don't we just do a magazine for the time being? And I said, then we can do a podcast here and there, or even though we haven't done one in quite a while, we need to. But yeah, and that's just how it came around. I said, we'll just feature random paranormal people and ask them some questions and see what happens. And we started getting articles, and
I've got a good team. I'm going to send you some information. I've got a good team. I taught a class for their paranormal team, and they're actually called their team for this is called the Dirt Team, and it is a team that deals with clergy, that deals with like demonic or evil cases and stuff like that. And they're a real big team out of Ohio. They have 5 different divisions, and I'll send you that information. And I think that would be a really good story for your magazine.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
cool.
send that my way.
I definitely will. How many people? I mean, have you had a good response with the magazine? I mean, have you?
God, a lot. I thought I'd be hounding people to be, let me do your feature or this. No, it's been total opposite. I got people coming to me. I want to be featured. I want to be. And the same with articles. Everybody's been just, I got an article for you. You interested? Yes, we're interested. So if
We
anybody's
would
got
love to put it in print,
Yeah.
print form, but how do you finance that and get people,
Right, yeah, and without the proper sponsorships and stuff like that,
right.
And
it
we
gets
didn't intend for this to be a permanent thing, but we're getting, like I said, getting a good response with it. Who knows?
and people love your magazine. I mean, like I share it every time. I share it over, whenever you guys come with a new issue or something like that. I'll share it over 40 different platforms, like from here to the UK, Australia, all kind of stuff. So I try to put it out there with you guys because
That's
I really do like your magazine, and I appreciate my wife and I being in the magazine. It was an honor to do that. We are actually going to get we're going to get it printed out. We're going to get it framed. We're going to put it up on the wall. That was the first time that we were in a magazine, and it just meant a lot to us.
Good. And that's what I was hoping to do too, is to boost some people's egos and stuff. because they're watching all the famous people on TV and everybody
Mhm.
getting their own shows. And I'm sorry, we're all just as good as everybody else.
That's it. That's it.
So
That's it.
acknowledge yourself.
And I think we're all in it, we're all in it, to, we all want to find, what our truths are, and, we've all had different experiences with things. I got a belief that perception is reality, the way that I perceive things. And it may be my reality, but it doesn't have to be everybody else's. And I've just noticed that there has been this hazardous, just just things and people in the paranormal field. People don't like to share evidence anymore because when they get on, they get called frauds. I mean, there's more negativity behind it than anything. What happened to us all just pulling together? What happened to us coming together and just really, if we love the paranormal field and we love being in here and finding evidence and stuff like that, you should feel comfortable about sharing that with other people without the repercussion of people looking down on you and making you feel bad about it.
I think that's one of the main complimentary feedback that our team gets. We are not out there creating all these videos and trying to be rich and famous. We're doing it from the heart, right? Some notoriety has come in very small amounts, which I'm not going to say isn't cool, but when we show something evidentiary, we give the story behind it, we show it, which has been very rare occasions, and we'll say, what do you think about it? This is what happened. This is what we perceive. What are your thoughts? And I don't care if you say, well, I don't think that's what it is. That's cool. But I just told you what happened. And so your thought is your thought. This is ours. We're not doing it. And then we've also, when we first started out, there was paranormal teams popping up everywhere. And we were given advice. Like, don't be offended if we're commenting, you just walked through a dirt cemetery, turned around, took pictures, and I got 1 million orbs. No, you have dust in the air. They don't come and party like that. You have to, but you have to educate people. And I'm sure that would be exciting for somebody who didn't know any better. Right. And so it's a learning experience, and everybody's got a learning. We're still pulling out. We do a lot of old school stuff. So we have our meters and our SLS camera and all that, but we're older, and we kind of, if we're talking to spirits from a go, they don't want to come near this SLS. And what is that electronic equipment? They are not familiar. So we bust out candles, make this flame yes and this flame no. And we check for drafts. And we just started, and this is the best, and I'll share it. Should I share our dice thing?
Please.
Well, we've already put it out there. So her daughter Whitney bought these, they're like dice, but there's letters on them. And so we were trying to figure out, we were actually at Hinsdale, the Hinsdale house in New York, and we were trying to figure out how to use these things. And there's a bunch of dice, and we try to find words in them. And I'm like, that's too sporadic. Let's spell a word. So here's something cool. I spelled a word with the dice, a simple 4-letter word, the word bird. So I spelled it with the dice, and with the spirit boxes and stuff going, we're like, can you read that? And it's funny because Janet's sister Carol's on the team. She goes, I just heard drib. What is a drib? Is that a type of bird? I said, drib is bird backwards. Maybe they see things in reverse. Like it's experimenting. You're experimenting.
Well,
so
think
we're
about it. If you're looking in a mirror, that's how it would turn out.
That's what I'm saying. How many times are you doing podcasts and your t-shirt's saying something stupid backward? So it's like, I thought that was a cool experiment. That's something new. as far as I know, we're the first teams to do that. And just with dice. So when you see whoever watches this podcast, we started it. We invented that. That's our little test theory. Take your words. Use flashcards. Who knows? And spell things and see if you can't get them to read it. Because I'm like, if I want to know what they're experiencing on their side. And we've asked, can you see us? And then, we ask how many are in the room to make sure it's accurate, and it's pretty, when stuff like that starts becoming factual and that spirit box is acting and the lights are going off, on the meters and everything's coming together and what you're hearing is actually what's going on. That's when, it's so exciting to be an investigator.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you guys, about the old school part because I'm 47 years old. So and I've been doing this a long time myself, and we didn't, when we used to go ghost hunting, when I was younger, because there's so many different forms of it now. You got ghost hunters, you got paranormal investigators, you got paranormalists, you got people that call themselves professionals, and I mean it's whatever. But I still like to take like red Solo cups with ping pong balls, and I'll turn them upside down, and if you take the ping pong ball and rub it against your head, it causes static electricity, and then when you put them on top of the thing, if there's an entity that comes close to it, the ball will shoot to that side.
Oh,
so I mean it's a really old school way, chalk, things of that nature, like you said, spelling out things. I have had a lot of good activity if I find out there's children in the house just by reading a children's book.
We sing so much. We sing all the time. We do. A lot of children love the nursery rhymes. They love singing. People like to sing, especially familiar songs. We try to.
You're right. They may not understand the equipment and everything that you have. You might not say that. Even with flashlights and everything. We like to call them torches. Because, they may not know exactly what all that is. And, and I think, simplicity is key on a lot of things. If you, like I've gone in and I have sat in a room, with no equipment or nothing like that, and just sat quiet and just paid attention, just listened to things, and just had open communication, without any equipment or anything like that. And I've gotten some good responses like that.
Right. Janet, you were trying to say something earlier, but you weren't loud enough to over.
It was a minute ago, and I don't remember now.
Yes, that's the problem with us. If we don't scream over top of somebody, it's gone. Just wait 10 more years, dude.
So I can record what happened.
So do you guys what is the most fascinating area or location that you guys have been at? Where have you got? You said you've been at the Hinsdale. That's one of my go-to places is Hinsdale House. I love the owner. I think he's fantastic. But what is tell me about some of these places and what you guys experienced when you were there.
Wow. Tell them your Monroe House.
The Monroe House was the spookiest. See, the Hinsdale, and that's the thing. Everybody can have their own experiences. You don't know what's in the house, what it's attracted to, who it feels comfortable revealing itself to, or if it's still there when it's your time to investigate. In my opinion, when we were at Hinsdale, we had the reading stuff, but I don't think we got a lot of extreme evidence. Yeah. We just didn't. It was a quiet night.
At Hinsdale?
That happens sometimes,
It does, because now we went to the Monroe House. As soon as we pulled up, we felt just the air was thick.
Heavy energy.
Yeah. and we had stuff all night to where I was getting photographic imprints and to move to the kitchen. And so me and another, we all agreed we were going to stay together, and we always agree with that, and then it fails. But we were going to start at the front of the house and work our way back. And I drug Eric with me, who is now in Wisconsin, so he doesn't get to investigate much anymore. But we went into the kitchen. I said, I want to go in the kitchen and try this Estes method. So we were in there, and then I got this photographic like imprint in my brain to go to the blue room, which is a bedroom in the back of the house. And we just walked in. Now, mind you, we hadn't even started. We just started investigating in the house. We didn't even say anything. We walked in that blue room, and a lot of these haunted houses have props and furniture and things you can use to entice the spirits to communicate. Well, there was a rocking chair in there with the kid's rubber ball. And as soon as we went in the entryway, this rocking chair leaned forward, and he's like, no way. And I'm like, oh, shit. And so we were just getting ready to bounce on the floorboards and to, see if the floorboards, because we were both big people, if we were moving the chair. And the chair rocked back, and then it violently flung forward, threw the ball out of the chair. We both screamed and booked out of that room. I've never seen furniture move so powerfully before. Like, you've seen your cat balls, you've seen this, you've seen that. But this like rocked so hard, like someone flung the chair, the ball came out of it. We go screaming. They come to meet us halfway, and we're like, we're going outside for a minute. We'll tell you outside what happened. So we go outside and tell them. Then we go back in, and the spookiest thing, we go back in the room to tell them what happened, and we had to gain our courage, chill out. We had to smoke, go back in.
In their eyes, they were shaking, they were scared.
Yeah, I mean, this was real stuff that happened. The ball was back in the rocking chair
By itself?
Yes.
Wow.
Like it never happened. And I'm like, oh, H to the E to the double L, no. And so we were on edge all night. When furniture moves, you do the psychological fight or flee. And we grew up in Detroit. I've chased people for stealing my purse. I'm stupid. I fight. That's the only time I flew, because I didn't have anybody. I couldn't see any. And my brain said, get out. Mm-hmm. And that's what I did. I didn't even have control over that. But we went in. So then we go back to face our fears, or me too, a second time to the Monroe house. Quiet. Whole different atmosphere.
Nothing went on.
Not really.
Go on.
Little bits, but
nothing compared.
I mean, we went in blazing, put the armor on, because I was going to battle that furniture moving, whatever it was. Didn't even show up. Wow. So, that's the thing. Like so many things happen.
Yeah, no, I know.
There, but you love it. You think?
Yeah. I've got
across that night, I guess.
Yeah, I've got a couple friends of mine, and one of them is a diehard skeptic, and and I love having skeptics, when they come down, because not only are they good at trying to debunk everything, they look at everything from a rational point of view first. And
which is what you should be doing as a good investigator.
Absolutely. My first rule of investigating is debunk everything obvious first, and that's what we do. That's what we do. And when these guys, they went to Waverly Sanitarium, and it was two of them, and they were going to do independent investigations just by themselves. And the skeptic was going to go the second night. He was going to watch his friend go in and do it. And his friend was getting all kind of activities, door slammings, knockings, footsteps. You saw an apparition on the backside go from one room to another. You know, I mean, you see it clear as day. And the guy was like, I don't know if I want to go in there. Well, the skeptic went in the second night. He goes in, not a knock, not a footstep,
Yeah.
nothing went on. And that's what I try to tell, paranormal investigators. I'm like, you can't make them communicate with you. You know,
No.
if you go in with an attitude, or if you go in with things going on, I mean, you can't. You have to go in with an open mind. You have to go in with the expectation of knowing that you may not get activity in there. But
well, two, my theory is when you've been investigating a long time, your senses become more keen.
Yeah.
Heck, I go through people's photo albums, barely look at the people in the photo. I'm looking in the background now.
Yeah.
Like, why am I investigating this person busted out? Oh, look at my pictures. And I'm like, oh, you got ghosts in the background.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
You've trained yourself to sense. And if you go in and you're respectful, which we treat, the spirits like they were alive, I'm not going to come running in. Hey, I'm Cassie, and you're going to talk to me. And,
Right.
no, you're going to take me away in cuffs and call me crazy. So you have to be respectful. And I think the more you do it, the more you're open to it, and the more your senses are open to it, and the more they feel it and come to you.
That's it. And like I said, respect is a really big thing, and a lot of people don't understand, about, if you're a good person in life, you're a good person in death. If you were mean in life, you're mean in death. If you're evil in life, you're evil in death too. So there's, you have in understanding the area, and I have found, like, if you try to go into a place blind like that and not know anything about it or anything like that, then your expectation will be like, oh, things will just happen. Well, I have found that the history of the land, what's going on with the land, how many families have lived in that house, how many deaths has happened in the house? Do we know a name by them? So in case we pick them up on there, then we're able to know who we're communicating with. And like I said, respect is huge in here. And I wish more people showed respect on investigations and even locations. I mean, how many locations do you guys know to where they don't like certain paranormal teams going in because they mess up their locations?
I've heard a couple of them complain about that. Yes.
And it's horrible. It's horrible when they go in. I mean, I know certain places and teams to where paranormal teams, like for instance, in Charleston, South Carolina, the old city jail that's down there, that used to be one of the most active and haunted places in Charleston, South Carolina. And I called the guy to see if my wife and I can get back into the jail and go. And they were like, we've had such a bad experiences with paranormal teams coming in that we've actually closed the jail down, and the jail is now used as office buildings. And it's sad. It's sad when they can take a known location like that because of the behavior on how people do in there. And like I said, you have to be respectful. You have to look at these places because they don't belong to you. You don't go in there and trash these places. You don't go in there in a disrespectful attitude. You're not going to get a good response on things. And I think things need to change, especially with people, and it starts with us. It starts with us, being able to go in there open-minded, to go in there with a good sense of being respectful going in. And if you go in there respectful, you're going to leave respectful, and you'll probably get respectful responses.
Right.
Definitely.
Here's something I'd like to bounce off you being a pastor, and we've discussed this on other shows.
Okay.
Is me being on the team, the more religious of people.
Okay.
I go in with like scapulars and holy water and
Yeah.
more blessed artifact. And I seem to be the one that gets picked on by spirits the most.
The more spiritual you are, the more that will happen. Especially like with evil or demonic and stuff like that. People don't understand if you got somebody that, is not spiritual and stuff like that, they're already an easy target. But when you're a spiritual person, you will get messed with like that. And I'm the same way. I believe in grounding. I believe in protecting. What I do before I go is I take frankincense. I don't use sage because I'm not Native American. And I use frankincense, which is a very biblical thing. It happened in the Old Testament. It was a fragrance. It was approved by God. I take frankincense and I go around each person, and I clear any and all negative energies in or around that person or around the place. And I replace it with the light, love, peace, and protection of God. And I do that going around, and I do it before and after. And if I'm going in to do a clearing and cleansing, I use holy salt, I use holy oil, I use holy water. I use Benedict medallions. I put them in places not only in the yard to close off and seal the yard, but I seal off the house too. So I have a very methodical way of doing that. But protection going into a place is very important. When you're going in to investigate, you always want to protect you, your team, and everything that's with you.
Yeah.
And it's not about being religious. It's not about being religious there. It's about being able to be safe and take care of you and who's with you and stuff like that.
Yeah. We always get in a circle and hold hands and say a prayer and tell everybody put the white light around them. And
Right.
then we go in, and then when we leave, a lot of times we will sage and say, prayer and tell them you cannot come with us. You have to stay here. I do the cutting cord motion and sage. I am Cherokee. I don't know if it matters. You seem to.
It does. It actually, I had a chief on this show. And he actually said, Gwen, you remember this when I talked to him. And I asked him flat. I said, listen, if a person is not Native American, should they be using sage he said no. He said you definitely shouldn't. If you're not Native American, you shouldn't be using sage.
Hey, Shane.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a little over an hour, which is fine. About 5 more minutes, and then we need to scoot. Ladies, I'm sorry. I'm usually on talking, but my internet is going nuts. So
it's the gremlins. It's the gremlins.
I think it's us because every time we had, if you were to go back in the archives and watch some Ghost Buzz episodes, we are a cluster. Let me tell you.
See?
And stuff would always happen. So I think we brought that energy. I'm sorry.
No, it's you and me and her and him, and we just and it's going no. Just no.
Yeah. It doesn't. Guys, I want to thank you. I want to thank both of you ladies for coming on. We could
very interesting.
It is, and I appreciate you guys coming on. I appreciate your magazine and everything. Why don't you tell people that are watching and listening right now how to get a hold of you ladies?
How to get a hold of us? You can get a hold of us at Phenomena Paranormal at myyahoo.com. Or you can get a hold of us just on Facebook, Janet Ramsey, Cassie Smith, Phenomena Paranormal Investigators, or Ghost Buzz Magazine.
And say they are a team for Ghost Buzz Magazine and they're interested in putting in, if you're interested in talking to them, what's the process about doing that if a team, wanted to be featured by you? What's the process behind that?
Just message me, and it's
We're
not
very
hard.
technical. Just send a message.
Just send a message, and I'll get all the information and everything. It's basically you just write your own bio. You're pretty much doing the work yourselves.
You are.
That's what I think
Yeah.
about it. I think it's been a great experience for them to write about yourself and stuff. So write a bio, send me some photos. I'll send you interview questions, and you just send them back.
We should start
Easy.
grading people at the end. We should send them a grade. This is your content.
Use the red pencil that the teachers did.
Yeah. They always use the red. They always use the red when it's like a D or an F. It's always there. When you get the blue and the black and stuff like that, you passed. But when they start getting that red pen out there, you're like,
oh no, not red.
I can't show this to mom and dad. I failed.
Yeah, we have to send you to detention somewhere.
Right. Well, ladies, thank you so much for coming on, and it's been a blast.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
I'll probably reach out personally here soon.
Please do.
Questions for you.
And I'm gonna say this: I appreciate you guys coming on, and I believe now, Janet, I may be wrong, but I think you're gonna have Litriana Brown, our CEO.
Yes, we are. That is.
I'm sorry, I have to brag on her. I have to.
I don't have my schedule here, but
it's okay.
I believe it's the end of the month.
Yeah.
I knew it was this summer. I couldn't.
Yeah.
This summer.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
At the end of the month, it'll be the very beginning of July.
Awesome, awesome, guys.
Be a great one, and she mentioned to you. Just so you know.
I read it, and I'm blushing even more. It's hot in my house, but I'm blushing. I read it and I cried. So.
Right up.
Yeah.
All right, ladies. Well, you guys have an awesome night, and thank you so much for coming on. You have been a blast, and I think you guys have been very informative, and people have a good idea of who you are and what you're about. And I just want to keep spreading that love about you guys because you ladies are wonderful people.
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you.
If you guys, I'm gonna put you back. If you'll hold on a minute, so me and Shane can talk to you for a second. I actually have something for you, but anyway, hold on for just a minute. And
all right, ladies, you guys have a great night.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Guys, that was a great.
I was in the back listening, so that was good, Shane. Good.
That was a great interview, and they are Ghostbuzz magazine. So if you're a paranormal team, if you got things and you want to be featured in a good online magazine, please look them up because they are awesome people. And I appreciate each and every one of you for coming on and spending time with us. I got a good, awesome guest for next week and the week after that. So you guys just stay tuned, okay? And you guys stay safe, be blessed always, and stay spooky, people. Peace.